It's looking nice out there, isn't it? Look at them clouds, man. BDF 44 here. Thank you for coming to my channel. Just want to document these clouds, man. I know it's gonna rain at some point, but it's looking nice to me. Got a white man singing some old 70s hits behind me with a Laker hat on. Shout out to him. Good vibes. Chilling, man. Came back from therapy. Of course, I left y'all a little brief word on the therapy session. I was trying to figure out if I want to walk home back to the hotel or I want to catch the bus. That bus is going to take too long for me to just be standing. I want to walk. I'll catch it maybe if I see it as I'm moving, but I didn't feel like standing, man. So another thing I didn't want to do is put too much wear and tear on these shoes. I already walked here. I didn't necessarily want to walk back, but I don't care right now. I just don't give a damn. The shoes are cheap. Even though I don't have a whole lot of money, they were cheap shoes. I feel all right, man. I'm just thankful. The Lord did a lot of good things for me today. My family sent the funds I'll need for next week already. They put that in the account already, so I'm very thankful for that. Very thankful. And I sent them a text letting them know how appreciative I am of that. It is kind of nerve-wracking having to ask every week, but at the same time, it's not their responsibility to take care of me. They're just gifting me that, and I really appreciate that. So if they wanted me to call to make sure that it happens, I could definitely do that. I can definitely do that. But it does also feel good to not have to worry about asking this week. I really appreciate that. Just the same. I'm pretty sure it's gonna rain. I'm pretty sure. Those are rain clouds above me, but I got my head. I'm not worried about it. I got my umbrella and I got my sweater too. And for now, I'm just gonna walk on by. But yeah, man, feeling pretty good. I was wondering if I wanted to get my fajitas today, since I actually have a little extra money, even though there's no such thing as extra money when you're in a situation. The fajita meal that I've been wanting all this time, I could afford to get it, but I'll probably wait another day. Save that $20 for another day. There goes that bus. Oh well, I don't care. Anyway, therapy session went well, and I'm looking forward to seeing Lydia again. That was very good for me to have some dialogue about my circumstances. Communicated with Kay ever so briefly, but good enough for me to have my head straight in that regard, because you know how dependent I am on hearing from her here and there. All that praying I did last night definitely helped ease my mind, and you know, I just look forward to the Lord taking me off of that dependency. She deserves a regular friend, not somebody who needs to hear from her regardless of how she's doing or how I'm doing or whatever. That's mental health crap. That's what that is. And even though I would love for things to be different, I have to be different first. And so that's how I'm looking at that as I zoom out from it. Having information on GR, knowing what is available to me, a pilot program, that's something I need to get into. Very excited about the process of having knowledge about what steps I can take to get it a place so I can get out from under this situation, and relieve my family of having to help me out every damn week. I know that is something that they are in a position for which they can do for a little bit, but I don't want them to have to do this for much longer. I really don't. Every week I'm hopeful that it won't have to be that, and every week I still find myself depending on them, and I'm very thankful, grateful, but hopeful that it can be over with soon. Going into the new year, I really want my own spot. And it ain't just about me having what I want for myself. It's about them not having to be forking over money every freaking week to pay for this expensive hotel. That's what it's about. I don't care if they're millionaires or not, or whatever, they, billionaires. It wouldn't matter to me. Point is, I don't want people to have to pay for this crap. I really don't. And so I'm looking forward to getting that out of my life, the burden that I place upon them out of their lives, and still keeping that relationship and that understanding that I couldn't get through this without them. So to keep them closer than I ever would have allowed myself before getting the help that I'm hopeful to have here with my mental health. And that's really been in the way, is my mental health, in the way of me having a reasonable relationship with others. You do understand that's a red light, right? It's a red light. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so yeah, man, I'm just hopeful that my mental health can be of service to the people that I love, not only as it pertains to getting out from under their dependency, but reaching out more and being more of a member of the family, rather than just being somebody who speaks to them every once in a while I'm going through it, you know? That's the main thing. I want to be more of a member of what they got going on. I want to be on my feet, you know? And so that's important to me. I genuinely think that they deserve to see me get on that soon and not have to just continue to just ask every freaking week. I know they're tired of that, and I'm tired of it too. So that's really what's on my mind, man. Getting help for my mental health so that I can be on the strong side of the game, man, and get back to doing what it is I know I can do. Working and then marketing my work that's already done. And so, yeah, man, just proud of myself for taking the initiative, proud of myself for overcoming what was difficult just 6 months ago. I was, of course, when you talk to a therapist, they make you relive certain things, and one thing I had to relive was going to the library that initial time when I called my uncle and asked him what I need to do to help myself from getting evicted. And of course, he was telling me to hurry up and get to the library that day. I hadn't left the house in a year, man. At that moment, I hadn't left the house in over a year. All I was used to was doing art every day, smoking weed every day. That was all I was really used to. Living the way I would otherwise live if capitalism wasn't really a thing. But because it is, you got to pay your bills. And while I was holding my shares to a degree, I had run out of funds, and I wasn't paying those people I needed to pay to keep myself housed. I didn't respect this for what I've been going through the last 3 months very much at all. And having gone through this already, clearly I respect it more. I wouldn't go through this again. I wouldn't have to. There would be none of that going on. Honestly, I would have shot them the money necessary to ensure I had my rent paid every month. That would have been my priority, not smoking no weed. And even if I wasn't paying them the full $800, they would have had something to keep them from evicting me, at least something on record. So it's just a lot of stuff that had to happen here in order for me to respect that there in ways that I just didn't respect it. I didn't care. I cared as it pertains to saying, well, I could pay them later once the squeeze happens. But you had to actually go through this to fear that enough to say, nah, because if the squeeze don't happen, that ain't worth it. And that's what I did not have, that maturity. And so that was less about anything other than what I chose to do. I didn't choose to respect that. And the Lord set me down in this regard and humbled me and made me go through this, for which, although I'm happy to have gone through, because it made me stronger, more knowledgeable, more resistant to certain types of stresses than I was at the time. Certainly. Definitely more resistant to certain type of stresses, but at the same time, all of this was so very unnecessary. I didn't have to go through none of that. All I had to do was shoot them people their money every once in a while to show some paper trail of me paying something. But I was too defiant in regards to how I wanted to do things. It was that my money was good enough to smoke weed with, but not good enough to pay my rent with. And I was so certain that those shares were going to do what they were supposed to do, and they just never did, man. They never did. And so then we get to a point where we know that was a mistake, but we also know that we're stronger now. If we were given an opportunity to do things correctly, they get done correctly. I just walked past a weed shop right now. I have no interest in buying any weed. 6 months ago, that would not have happened. With excess money to buy weed, that's all I would have wanted. That's all I would have been thinking about. I probably would have bought weed before I left. You know, this is like a no-go. Not having no weed? What do you mean? I'm dry? I guess there's a certain level of maturity and a lack of dependency that I'm relying upon weed now. There's no dependency to it. I don't have to spend that. That's not a definite bill. You know what I mean? It's not a bill. I still like weed, you know. I still want to and, enjoy getting high whenever I just decide to. But as of right now, I have no desire, man. And that's a strength that I just didn't have. And I'm very thankful that the Lord put me through this to remove that dependency from my life, at least for a time, while I can legitimately say I cannot afford it. And that's what it's all about. For me, it's about being able to afford what it is that I want to do. You can want something all you want. I want a Mercedes right now. I want to buy a mansion right now. I want to get myself 6 a pair of J's, all colorways I want. But I want everything. I can't afford that no more than I could afford that damn weed. And that's the difference between the mindset I'm in now and the mindset I was in before. And then the same goes for food. I don't necessarily find myself not being able to afford the food, and maybe I want it to a degree, but I also realize what it can do to my system and the difference between how I want to feel versus how I'm going to feel if I eat like that every day. How I want to look in the mirror versus how I'm going to look in the mirror if I eat like that every day. There's certain levels of maturity that came, certain willingness to sacrifice certain things for what I truly want. And now I'm in a space where I can honestly say I'm ready to sacrifice some things necessary to get what I need. And so that's why I'm hopeful the Lord will allow me to take that for which is strong within me and apply it to where necessary. It's a lot of lessons that came with this. And I don't know that those lessons would have came if I had everything together the right way. So just got to take the good with the bad and appreciate God as he does what he does. He's a good God, man. And he ain't going to put you through nothing that you can't handle. And he ain't going to leave you without a lesson to learn. He ain't going to leave you without a lesson to learn. I promise you that. And so that's what it's about. Just understand that lesson is there for a reason, because he wants you to be better in circumstances for which you will need that maturity. You're going to need that understanding. And you ain't going to have it unless you go through certain things. You can demand respect from within yourself for certain circumstances all you want. But until you have a healthy fear for certain things or a healthy understanding of why, you're just working against your desire to comply versus knowing your truth and what it is that you will not allow to happen. And that's what I needed. My willingness to comply wasn't all that strong within me. Somebody tell me I need to do this, I guess. Somebody telling me I need to do that probably makes sense. But to have gone through it and then say, you know what, nah, I didn't like those consequences, gives you the understanding of why it's not just compliance, but it's prevention. Prevention of circumstances for which do not need to get worse. And the only time you're going to really have that is through going through it or learning that lesson through someone else, for which is valuable either way, man. And when you find yourself in isolation, you're not going to follow those things. You're not going to learn those lessons. And that's what's important. And so, for me, I'm just going through what I need to at this age. I would have loved to have learned these lessons at 21, 22. By now, I'd probably be in a much better place. A lot of people did learn those lessons at 21, 22. But for me, I had to learn a different way and at a different time. And so, that's what I've learned also, is to just not demand so much maturity of people. That's what this case situation has taught me. Not to say that she's overly immature or anything like that, but it's just certain levels of sacrifice and understanding of my mindset and willingness to give versus what it is that's real to her. She just doesn't have those realities in front of her based on a need to do other things that 28, 29-year-olds do. You know what I mean? She don't have time to be sitting on the phone every morning consistently like a 39-year-old who's already done all that stuff. I've already done it. Like, a lot of the stuff that she's trying to do in her life are things that I've enjoyed. I was able to get those aspects of my life going. She hasn't even reached 30 yet. And 30 is when the hard times first hit in my life. I found certain things about myself that I needed to stop doing after that. There were certain things I hadn't even discovered about myself at 28, 29 years old. And so for me to demand that she be a finished product and have all types of consideration for my desires for her and times and all of this and that, the only thing that would make her comply with what it is I want her to do is stuff that's outside of what it is I'm considering. Like, the desire for a woman to settle down at a certain time or whatever. That's the only thing that would make it so that she would want to do the same things I want to do. Other than that, There's no reason for her to be trying to be like act like she's 39. I mean, I'm not even acting like I'm 39 at 39. So it's just a certain level of respect for other people's processes that I pride myself on having, but did a bad job of displaying over the course of the last couple of, I say last year or so. I say a year. Because I talk a good game. I knew how to talk all that. But when it came to actually having that inside of myself to do, nah, I wasn't there. That's what I learned about myself. And I could talk a good game about what should be done when an older guy is trying to deal with a younger woman. But when it came to actually seeing it through, I wasn't that. I wasn't like I was just talking it. I would like to see that in myself. I would otherwise expect others would be strong enough to do that. But when it came to me, nah, I need more communication. I need to hear from you. I need all this. I need you to not do that on your own personal time. A bunch of stuff that it's a little more traditional when it comes to guys and gals, man. As opposed to just saying, you know what, I'm going to let you live your life, enjoy your 20s, and when you're ready, come around. That was what I was talking. That wasn't what I could do. And so that's what I learned, man. This distance is probably best for her to continue being herself without having to hear or feel any static from within myself, for which I was painting initially wasn't even a problem, wasn't even there. And so that's what ultimately comes about, man. Just in a stuck spot, man. As it pertains to wanting a family for myself and being a little too old to deal with the women that I could probably have a family with. And then look, if you got a lot of money in this society that we're in, mask a lot of that. You just throw money at your problems. She wants to go on vacation, she wants this, just throw money at it. But for myself, it's like I don't have money, so I got to be able to make it up with my personality, and then she would have to choose to be with me in regards to me not having no cash. And when it comes to women, that is just not a real thing. Unless she got all the money in the world, to which she probably don't want to carry you, King. So with the problems that I have, it's just looking more and more realistic that I probably don't find the right match. And that's what I'm telling the Lord I want to be conditioned for. If I'm not meant to have a family, then put me on a path to get what I need, so that I can be the person you want me to be rather than this person I want to be, for which is not in the cards for me. Because I'm not about to be dating a bunch of 28-year-olds for the rest of my life, dealing with the same stuff. I ain't gonna do it. I'm just not gonna do it. And most of the women my age, if I want a family, they already got the kids. So all I just gotta do is bring myself and raise somebody else's seed, for which is not the dream. That ain't the dream. That's one of the reasons why I like the idea of myself and Kay, because she don't have any kids, man. So we could be first-time parents together, and that's just rare for people our age. It's just rare, man. She ain't gonna find too many guys my age who have no kids, not unless there's something terribly wrong with them, for which there's something terribly wrong with me, and vice versa. Minus the problems. At 29 years of age, it's not really a thing for a woman who don't have kids. She can probably still have kids. But it's like, that's why she was so much part of the dream, because I just think it's a rarity, man. It's a rarity. That's one of the reasons why I was so stuck to the idea of her. I really thought, and still think, those circumstances go pretty well, man. Especially with me being 39, but not of 39, meaning I'm a spry 39, I'm in shape, no kids. It's like, that's not what you're gonna find too often. You know what I mean? It's just not what you're gonna find too often. But at the end of the day, I think she has a much better idea of what she wants for herself, not what it is I think makes sense for her and all of that. And even so, just the same, I gotta find what's best for me so I can be a bit more sane as it pertains to dealing with somebody, her or anyone else, for that matter. That'd be sane, man. Sane. You could have all the good characteristics in the world, but if your mental health is trash, you're gonna drive somebody up a wall with your craziness. And that's what it is ultimately that I was gonna try to apply to her, without first finding within myself there was things wrong. And so while a lot of what it is I was saying was in my mind justifiable, at the very end of the day, a lot of that stuff had to do with me just not being normal, expecting people to understand the distance that was comfortable to me, expecting her to understand the distance that was comfortable to me, live in a world where I'm by myself 99% of the time, and then dependent upon her energy as the sole energy that connects me to the world, besides these circumstances for which I talk to my family once a week, that kind of thing. But as far as like dating and stuff like that, I don't have none of that in my life. And I expected her to what? Not? You know, that's just not real, man. You expect a girl to be cool with you never being around? It's not real. And so, for me, that's what I needed to get a little bit of dose of reality, is to say that you're not in her life, man. You're in her phone. And while you could be upset about what she does with her real life, at the end of the day, all you're doing is pushing her away when you show her that you are like this and she's too much for you in that way. And so that's what I think I ultimately done. And it was a learning process that was necessary for me to become this person that I'm becoming. You know, to have a full understanding of myself, and that I don't understand others as well as I thought I did. And it's okay to not, which I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's okay to not understand others the way you want to understand them, and then go about trying to find that understanding. It's okay to say I was wrong, because I was. Not wrong about her character as it pertains to whether or not I chose a good person to be having feelings for, because I believe she is a good character person based on my understanding of who she was back then and who I've known her to be in my phone. But as it pertains to whether or not those are that is enough to say that's a person that you should expect to want to be with you, that they would know more about who you are based on your interactions in the phone, that's not real. And that's what I needed somebody to tell me back then over the course of the last several months. That's not real, brother. You want to know this person a bit better. You want them to know you a bit better. And the comfort level from which a person can say, okay, I know that person, is a bit more detailed than what it is I'm used to and what it is I've allowed myself to accept. There are other aspects about being a regular social human being that I ain't allowing to my life because of the way I was and the way I am. So she doesn't know how I would be in certain social settings. She doesn't know how I would be in her family setting. You know, those are things I don't consider because I don't have a family. I don't go out. You know what I mean? So it's like this little bit of enough is enough to know in my mind, you, whether or not I'm good for you, whether or not you're good for me, and all these different things versus somebody else who has other things to consider and settings that they didn't see you in. They don't know if you know what I mean? They don't know if you got any sense. And so being in isolation like this is like, what do you expect? I don't know what I expected. But I know that I learned not to expect what I was expecting. That's what I learned. And so I'm glad that I learned that lesson when I did. It was a hard lesson. It was like pulling teeth learning that one. But I got it. You know, and she's someone who likes to travel a lot. When do I travel? I ain't been on a plane since my mother passed away. What do I know about going to this place and that place and then headed down there? And it's like, that's her life. And so while I'm assessing her as somebody who would be good for me, I'm not taking into account that should I ever leave the house versus her always being out. There's just certain things I did not respect, should have respected. Gives me perspective at this point. So I'm thankful. And I'm asking the Lord to help me with all of that, man. Because at the end of the day, with the person that I'm trying to become, it's not like I want to stay like this. I want to travel. It's not even about me wanting to stay this way. I definitely do not. It's not that I would want her to change in that way. I would look forward to her incorporating me into that world so that I could finally see the world for a change. That's what I was hopeful for, I think, in regards to dealing with somebody like that. Be truth be told, that's exactly what it was, I think. But nevertheless, I had to overcome my own anxiety so I can create those circumstances for myself. Because who wants to take someone else somewhere? Well, shouldn't it be me taking her these places and having all that under control as the male in the circumstance? I mean, it is 2023, but at the end of the day, at some point in time, some of those things don't really change. So that's how I'm looking at it. It's like, well, much more realistic perspective. And from there, I did not know what to want, rather than to not see those things as things to want and then expect others to have those same understandings in that bit of confusion that I'm stuck in. She ain't got to stay in that. She don't have to even have anything to do with that confusion. And that's what I hope is understood by all of you guys as I continue to grow within this camera and learn these lessons right in front of all of y'all. That's where this is taking me, is to understand what it was that wasn't realistic and just how much of dependency I felt toward my mother and how she carried me all over the place and made it so that she was the way I was introduced to the certain aspects of the world, and then loving somebody very much and then expecting them to kind of carry me like my mother did. And mommy issues is what I was applying to Kay a lot of them damn times. And that's what I've come to assess within myself without actually having that brought up in therapy as of yet. But I'm pretty sure that's what it's going to come around to. Me having my mother be the dominant figure, the leading figure in my life as a child. And now when I look at a woman, I want her to be that leading figure, for which is not her role. And likely is what she would want me to be. And how do I snap out of that? That's why I tell all y'all, man, have a two-parent household if at all possible, so your kids don't grow up with any version of this in their life, so that if you don't have boys trying to look toward women to lead them when they're supposed to be the leaders, because that's a real thing, man. That's a real thing. I'm dealing with it, and in no fault of my own. It just is what it is. I was used to my mom, kind of carrying me around, being that male figure and female figure. And so as I grow older, when I'm looking for a wife, I'm looking for my mom again. And that's just not, that's horrible. That's horrible responsibility to put on a woman. And it pushes them away, depending on what type of woman she is. She ain't gonna want to deal with that. She ain't gonna have to deal with that with other men. Maybe she'll deal with something else though, because everybody got their thing, but she ain't got to deal with that. And that's not gonna keep you competitive in the nature of trying to find yourself an adequate woman. Although I think people expect different things in 2023, I'll say that again. People are playing different roles every day, man. Broken homes are raising people every day. And I see men much more feminine in that way than me. But that don't mean I don't have to work on that. I gotta work on that. And I'd like to have that under control before I try to incorporate myself in anybody else. And to a point, I'm used to being on my own, so it's really tricky then, because I'm used to being alone and I'm looking for this trait, and probably wouldn't do well with that trait because I have an ego, so it would just be a clash that would be natural in the beginning and the end of that process, as it would no doubt end with me acting that way. And so I'm just thankful that the Lord has helped me understand where I can get stronger within my own way of looking at myself and others, where I can choose women in a different way if that's what it is that He's going to do for me. Or, God willing, maybe even bring Kay back around when I've grown a little bit and when she's grown a little bit. Lord knows that's ultimately who I want to be around in that way. At least see if it works out. And if we find out it ain't work out that way, at least that would be the closure, If that's not who we want to be in each other's lives, I'd rather that be not a question mark in my mind. But I got to do some changing, man. I got to do some more leading as a man. I got to get these mommy issues out of my life. Honestly. My mother passed away in 16. I don't need to be trying to find her and someone else. So, these are things that I just need to be forthright about is in regards to helping myself. And that's really what it is, man. I pray a great deal that I didn't ruin how she views me forever because I'm a changing individual. I'm changing. Who she's seen in 2023 ain't the same person she knew in 2018 or whatever that year was. And who I'm going to be in 2026, God willing, I still live that long. And I definitely do not want to be this person. Not be this person, but definitely a much more evolved version and a much more established, self-aware and in charge man than I am right now. 3 years from now, I'd like to see myself be that. However that looks. And so this is what it's about, man. Leaving therapy helped me understand some things just by asking me a few questions, kind of opened up the door for me to answer them on this camera. And her being Lydia, the therapist. And I feel good about that. I feel really good about just how far I've come from not knowing these things that I just mentioned to you. Just learning these things over the past 3 months, maybe 3 months, and getting to a point where I know exactly where I went wrong. Know exactly where I've been pushing this individual away. And I hope that through the example that I am going through, that I'm teaching others who may be a little younger than me or my age, that this is a thing, that we can still learn. Maybe you're already established in these areas, but there may be some others that you may have to work out. And in working those areas out, you may have a euphoric moment about yourself, or a epiphany type thing within yourself to say, yo, I don't even have to do this stuff I've been doing. This ain't really necessary no more. Maybe this is a mommy issue or a daddy issue or an abandonment issue or a combination of something. Maybe you went through some trauma or something and now you just look at the world a certain way. Some of these things just got to be dealt with, and we may think that we're in a certain age or at a different established point in our lives where it's like, nah, we ain't got to really work on that no more. I'm already a finished product. I'm done. Like, no, you're not. In a lot of cases, if not every, you ain't done. There's aspects of your mental health that might have been ruptured by something that just happened right now. You know, it doesn't have to be just, I'm healed. I saw something that my sister Sarah posted. Shout out to Sue. She posted something in regards to healing. It had like a chart, 2 different charts. One was what the expectations of healing would be, which is trauma, talk it out, healed. And the real thing, which is trauma, talk it out, setbacks, realizations, getting on track, falling off track. Like, it was a lot of different aspects of it that aren't just linear in nature. And you're gonna go through ebbs and flows. You're gonna have times where you got it together, and other times where maybe something happens that sends you back into that space. And that's what it is I need to understand in regards to Kay, specifically as she goes through her process of healing, what she went through. Stop asking for her to get it linear in terms of her healing. Now she's been through this couple months. Now she should be ready to talk. No, she ain't. None of that. None of that. Not with what she's been through. Not with whatever she went through before that. And same for myself. No, ain't none of that. Maybe it's going to be a not so linear process. And maybe there'll be setbacks. And maybe I should be okay with that on both ends. It pertains to myself and my friend. Whatever the case may be, that's what it is. That's what I know, come to understand. It ain't linear. And you know, at the end of the day, man, sometimes you go through all these processes just to come around to find out that where you was at exactly where you need to be. And who you were pointed at is exactly who you needed to know. You just need to know them under different circumstances and let them grow. You don't know that until you find that out in your own life. I don't know that. I have no idea what the Lord wants to do with me, man. But what I can say is I'm thankful that He's given me the notion that I pick good friends, first of all. I had my boy Farai. I spoke to him this past Sunday, the Sunday before that. It was Sunday before that. Around after Thanksgiving, whenever that was. And he was telling me how, a lot of his good friends are people I brought around. People that he knows now that he's most respectful of, that he considers his friend, that his wife considers Farai's real friends, are people that I introduced him to. And that was a really, really helpful thing that he told me. Because I don't really look at it like that. Or I don't really know that, you know what I mean, until he tells me. But he was like, man, some of the people I know who I consider people that are my friends, my wife will tell me, nah, your friends don't act like this. This person, that person, those are your real friends, and they show you what real friendship is. And he tells me in that conversation that those are people I introduce him to. Like, that's the type of thing that makes me understand that, okay, when I look and see something in somebody And maybe it's a little more than what it is they've been able to display, that ultimately my judge of character is a good thing, and I'm really good at that. You go through that in regards to trying to figure out if the person you pointed at is the right person. I don't think my boy Farad knew that he was helping me in that way, but he gave me the confidence to know that I got the right idea when I point myself at Kate. And so that's what I'm here to tell y'all. Like, I think I got it right as it pertains to her being somebody that would be good with me under better circumstances. Now, whether or not I'm good for her, I don't know. And whether or not I know her well enough to even determine that, I don't know. That's obviously been understood. But one thing's for sure is her spirit, her to her core, I know it's good. I know that I choose good friends, and she's no exception. And the fact that I care so much about her is something that I don't think is an accident. The fact that every time I go to pray, the Lord brings me back around to praying for her, I think is very, very spiritual and very outside of me. A lot of times I don't even be thinking, and I say this respectfully, I don't even be thinking about her when I start my prayers. I don't. And there's something inside of me would ultimately bring it back to her. I'll be thinking about praying about other people, thinking about praying about myself, Gaza, and somewhere around the course of that process, I start thinking about her. It's the strangest thing in the world, man. So that's why I want to tell people, like, I don't know her well enough to know if I got this right, but I know the Lord's been showing me a lot of different things that help me understand at the very least, he wanted me to care for this person deeply in this era of my life. And so if he's going to pull me away from that, it's going to be very curious to see if the person he does end up putting me next to is somebody I pray for as much as I pray for this person here. Or if that same spiritual draw to, I guess you can say, or connection is found there with that particular person. Because I don't think I've ever, not like that. I've loved before, I've been in love before, but not like no spiritual stuff like this. Nah. Nothing even close to that, to be honest with you. And so that's just the truth, man. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Honestly, don't. Appreciate it, brother. Honestly, don't know what that means, but I try my very best to just give her the space that she otherwise believes she needs. And hopefully, I haven't pushed her away with the weaknesses that I've displayed and the dependency that I feel I've displayed toward her that she couldn't meet, or that is a friend or otherwise. And to be honest with myself and say friendship is something that I'm not shooting for when I care about somebody like that. I don't want just the friendship. That's never going to be enough for me. If we're not aiming for something real, especially at this age in my life, the friendship just feels like a contingency plan that ain't quite living up to what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? That's just where I'm at in my life. I don't know if she sees the friendship anything like that. I don't know what, I have no idea. But for me at this age, it's like, if we ain't working towards something real, if we don't have that dream shared, the friendship is like settling for something. It really is. It's just settling. I don't have no deep feelings for nobody like this. I just want to be, and that's it, friends, be cool. Hell no. It's not. It's not what I want from her at all. With respect to the friendship, it's not what we're working on. That's not what I was dreaming and praying for in regards to myself and that person. So whatever the case may be, I just hope the Holy Spirit knows that as he pulls me forward. If he wants to pull me away from her, I hope he knows how I feel about that, and that I will be disappointed if that's what all he had and that's it for me in regards to her. That would not be good enough for what it is I want. And maybe having somebody better for me, though. Maybe there's someone better for me. But just the same, you got to know within yourself what it is that you've been praying for and what it is you really want when you're dealing with somebody. And so that's really the truth. And so that's what it is, man. I'm bearing my soul. I guess I had things I wish I could have said to the therapist. We don't get enough time to speak, not with a brain like mine. But at the same time, it's like, that not everybody has time to be listening to all of this. not when they have a professional job to do. You need to have $1 million to pay for a therapist and sit there all day long and listen to your nonsense. And that's why I started this channel, man. I'm not, like I told you guys a million years ago when I started this thing, I'm not waiting for the help. I'm gonna help myself. I'm not waiting to find a therapist. You are that therapist. And I'm gonna talk the way people told me to never speak to open-ended strangers and on TV or whatever. You don't bare your soul for the world. You don't tell the world who you are. Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, that's been my attitude. So what if they know? Maybe they can learn from what it is that'll help me grow. Why wouldn't I want to share that? So what if it's a weakness in me? There's a lot of people hiding from their weaknesses and they ain't helping me because they're too busy trying to hide from it. Maybe if they showed me what it is that's in there, I can help myself better. You think I'm waiting for them to get that right? Hell no. They ain't never gonna get that right. I gotta help myself. It's the only life I get. And if I can help somebody else, that's helping me too, shit. That's how I feel about it. And so it's like, man, for those who may judge me for my weaknesses or what have you, or maybe try to use that against me, I just gotta weigh it against my faith, man. What does God think of me? What does he think of my therapy sessions? All 829 of them. What does he think of this? You know, if I worry about what you think of this, I'll probably never do another therapy session. What does God think of this? You know, does he approve of me bearing my soul to the open-ended whoever? I imagine he does, man. In the presence of this capitalistic marketing, everybody has to be compelling type world that we're in. Can somebody else be open to communicating in a way that goes completely against that and still be effective in sharing what needs to be shared and learning what needs to be learned? Absolutely. That's exactly who I am. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm proving that not everything's about a buck. Even in the world where bucks are everything, even with the ability to make a lot of bucks with everything that I do, not everything's about a buck, man. And so that's what I'm telling all of you. This had nothing to do with no money. This had nothing to do with no views. This ain't had nothing to do with whether or not people are approved of it or whether or not I come off the way people need me to come off to be marketable. I give the finger to every bit of that when I do these videos, bro. I do not care about any of that. There is zero part of me that gives any concern for those interests. I'm interested in what the Lord thinks of what I'm doing. I'm interested in healing. I'm interested in sharing what it is that heals me toward others so that they can be open to what it is that ultimately will help them help others, man. Being an example of what it really is. Somebody showed me the idea of reality TV and I took it somewhere else. It's exactly what this is. I took it somewhere else. And I'm fortunate enough to not have things in my life that I couldn't share based on legality and various different sins that people do to get them thrown in prison. I was fortunate enough to not be living a life where that would be a thing for me. There are things I should not have done, but not to the point where I needed to share them with you. You understand what I'm saying? Not to the point where it's in the way of my healing if I don't say nothing, if I say something or what have you. No. And that's fortunate, especially coming up from where I'm from. I'm nestled in the right mindset and the right set of circumstances to where when I share my respect for what it is that I've gone through, I'm not snitching on nobody else or giving up secrets to the gang and all types of other stuff that just would not be possible. 99% of the people that look like me in the area I'm from. It just wouldn't be possible. They start telling the truth, they get in trouble. Not me. Not me. And so that's why I'm the right person to do it. That's why the Lord put me through all this in the way that he did. And every time he helps me through circumstances, I find that he does it as an example for you. Not necessarily because I'm favored so much, it's because I got something to share with somebody else that is important in regards to the course of my faith. It ain't even just about my healing. It's about my relationship with the Most High and my willingness to speak on things that most people won't, or people are afraid that something's going to happen to them if they speak on certain stuff. He gave me the right type of courage in that way to say, I don't give a damn about speaking truth to power, no different than I care about making money off of this. And because I'm driven by my faith, I can speak without fear of consequences of such, especially when I know of a God. I I know him. I don't have to worry about the consequences of man when I know God. And the closer I get to him, the closer I understand that is exactly the case. Maybe that's not what goes on in your world. Maybe you got to adhere to a manly God like Israel or some shit like that. But me, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And so I just think I'm nestled the right way for what it is I'm doing. And I'm thankful he made me this person. It comes with a lot of sacrifice and a lot of sufferings. It comes with a lot of loneliness. It comes with a lot of not getting what you want, especially from others. But I just think he wants me to continue to be in this position. Gotta be nestled right. Just right for the piece that I am in this big old puzzle called life. So praise God for what it is I'm trying to be and for what it is I've already been. And I thank him for allowing me the opportunity to be this person in these times where everything is about a buck. Everything around me is about capitalism. Walking on stolen land and everybody's acting like that's fine. All these different things that I'm just not subscribing to at all while I speak this way, nestled in this space. I'd like to think I'm proof God does exist. BDF 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.